This might be the perfect camera for you, but I don't think it is for me. This is the Leica Q3 43, and I've got to be honest, I'm really excited by this camera because I've used the Leica Q3 before. I've used various Leica cameras in various capacities over the last couple of years, and I love them. They are fantastic. There's no getting around it. They're expensive, but you get what you pay for. Image quality is great. The Q3 43 takes arguably my favourite Leica, the Leica Q3, and makes it a little bit more palatable. See, I don't really use a 28mm focal length. It doesn't do anything for me. I spend most of my time somewhere in between 35 and 50. Somewhere like a 43, actually. 43 is the halfway house between those two focal lengths. That was actually one thing that I've kind of struggled with a little bit. The 43mm focal length is quite unusual. It's not something you'll find everywhere. And you do sometimes feel a little bit like you're in that halfway house. It does work for some shots, but for others, I find myself longing for the 35. And I understand why they didn't put a 35 on a camera like this. I think it would have possibly jeopardized sales amongst some of their higher end cameras, but oh, I just wish it had that little bit extra. I guess the Leica Q3 35 would have been my perfect middle ground. Still, don't let that stop you because this thing is jam-packed with goodness. Most notably, the crop zoom, which gives you a range of different focal lengths. Part of the reason why the crop zoom works so well on this camera is because of the sensor inside. It is a gargantuan 60 megapixel sensor in there. And that means that you can crop in quite a lot and still have a fantastically sharp image. Leica has basically reverse engineered that so that you can opt to shoot at a different focal length simply by cropping in to the sensor. And it's a great idea. It works really well and it basically takes away some of the work you probably would do in post to crop into the image you want. However, the way it works is that it kind of puts a faux frame line on the full image. And while I understand why they've done that, I think it's really difficult to use. For me, I've ended up just basically shooting at 43 with the knowledge that I can crop in later, rather than shooting like that in the first instance. I'd much rather it projected the focal length on the screen. Otherwise, this is pretty much everything you'd expect from a Leica. You've got full manual control should you want it. It can also be a fully automatic camera should you want it. Image quality is astoundingly good. It's a great viewfinder. The back display will flip up to a horizontal plane, which is great for me. I like to shoot a lot of medium format and that sort of looking down at waist level viewfinder feels very at home, and a lot of photographers who enjoy this sort of photography will probably be the same. The one saving grace for this camera, in my eyes, is the macro mode. It's nothing new, we've seen it on other cameras before, but here, oh, it just works so well because of that cropping ability, because of the size of the sensor, and because that 43mm focal length just keeps everything looking a little bit more realistic. I've used this to do some product photography, which is probably the style of photography I do the most, part of the job. And it is absolutely killer. You can get up to a foot, just under a foot of your subject, and you get that same fantastic quality, crop in with the focal lengths in there as well, and you can get some unbelievable looking shots. So would I buy one? Probably not. Don't get me wrong, I love this camera. I really do. I love Leica in general, and I do think this is a good camera. I just don't think it's the right one for me. The 43mm focal length is not bad, but I know for a fact that I'm going to stand in a couple of situations where I need a little bit wider. Not the 28mm of the Q3, but something like a 35 would be perfect. So for me, I think the perfect Leica is still out there somewhere.